Cinema Bias. Bum, bum. Hey guys, welcome to Cinema Bias. This is a brand new show. Not so new anymore, but it's a new show with me. I'm one of your hosts, VideoDrew. This is my other co-host, Alex Mack.
Hi.
We have a very special episode tonight where we're going to be talking about a movie that is one that has not been seen by Alex. It is Beverly Hills Cop. We have a very special guest joining us tonight. But first, guys, if you've never seen Cinema Bias before, what this is a show that goes into sort of our preconceived notions about why we like or don't like certain movies, why we avoid certain movies that we might otherwise be entranced by or delighted by. We sort of force each other's to go outside each other's comfort zones and boundaries when it comes to certain films, and just generally try to expand the purview of the knowledge base that we have. Not just, stuff that we're comfortable watching. For me, it's horror movies. For Alex, it's, sentimental weepies like I Just Found Out, Meet Joe Black. But yeah, so we're going to get into a little bit one today. Today was actually a movie that was picked to us by one of our Patreon sponsors. That would be the great, his name is Akmal Foley, but we'll get into.
I know, I just realized that.
Yeah, it's a pretty good name. It's A-Aron. But first, Alex, what's your bias against this movie?
It's not so much. This is definitely something very outside my wheelhouse. I was really excited that A-Aron, chose this movie in particular, not because it's obviously it's a movie I have personally not seen, which I'm always excited to watch a new movie that's very new to me. But I'm very unfamiliar with buddy cop movies as a subgenre. I haven't seen that many of them. I've been very open about it. I haven't seen any movie from this franchise. I just saw the movie Die Hard for the first time early this year. So I'm very late to the part. Yeah. I've seen scenes from it, but I never actually sat down and watched it in its entirety. And to be honest, I haven't seen any of the sequels. And so that and buddy cops in general, I haven't seen anything for the Lethal Weapon franchise.
No Turner.
Never seen that. I've seen Rush Hour and Rush Hour 2, but as far as I can remember, that's all I got, to be honest. So, A-Aron,
I can't talk about any
so much.
Weapons. So clearly, I'm not a huge Lethal Weapon fan. Who got my match will know that I'm not the biggest Lethal Weapon fan. But yeah, I think before we get into the starting plot, let me turn my air on a little bit. Let's bring on our special guest for this week because he's earned his right to be up here talking to us about this film. We have the one, the only, he just made it to 2020 for his favorite films of all time. It is Akmal Foley. It is A-Aron.
Hey, guys.
Let's see. Oh, no. Am I glitched out?
I don't think so. I'm here.
Yeah.
Are you
hey, A-Aron, how's it going?
Good. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be here, talking about one of my favorite movies of all time, Beverly Hills Cop. So I'm glad.
I'm really interested to see why this is going to be one of your favorite movies. I'm also very interested. This is one of those movies, the rare movies where I can't tell if this is going to be something that Alex liked or didn't like at all. I have no idea. I'm really interested in hearing about it. But before we get
started, the way you talked about it, just straight up, it's like, I can't wait for you to explain to me why this is a favorite movie of yours. Why is it a favorite?
I'm interested in both sides of this. Why would this be anyone? Hey, Lee Kennedy says, hey, yes, A-Aron. Before we get into it, you want to put 60 seconds on a clock and try to get Alex to tell us the plot. And this I'm also very excited for, to see if Alex can describe the plot of Beverly Hills Cop in 60 seconds. This is notoriously thwarted The Best of Us.
I am clearly the best. Okay.
I think you can do it with this movie.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. There is a very iconic, black detective. His name is Axel something. He's actually from Detroit. He's a detective that lives on the edge. Sometimes he likes to break rules in order to reach his, goal as a detective to solve a case. But he is from Detroit. He lives in Detroit. That's where he solves cases. During a friend comes and visits him. He ends up getting murdered when he's visiting from Beverly Hills. And so Axel's like, oh my gosh, I need to figure this out. I need to solve this murder. And so he goes down to Beverly Hills. Adventures ensues. A lot of local cops, they find him. They kind of do a lot of stereotyping on his character. A lot of things happen where he ends up getting stalked by the police, by the local police. They start investigating him as well. And then, meanwhile, Axel, it turns out, is trying to solve this murder, of his friend. So a lot of really interesting characters. There's a lot of themes of, stereotyping. There's a bunch of stuff. Okay.
Time. Well, how do you think she did, Aaron?
I mean, that's solving a murder. I mean, come on.
I love the amount of discussion on themes. That was my favorite part of the summary. It was my biggest
takeaway.
And we'll get into that probably.
From Beverly Hills. That was my favorite part. The 20 seconds it took to describe how he was not from Beverly Hills, but in fact from Detroit.
I know that.
And let's be honest, I think that he's only in Detroit at the beginning of the film for 10 minutes.
Yeah, but it's important. It's an important fact that he is from Detroit.
Yeah.
It's super important. He wears the line. He brings that Detroit attitude. I'm from Detroit, in case anybody doesn't know. So I'm from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised. And so the beginning of the movie was filmed in Detroit. I definitely recognize it's from a few years before when I was born. But
you recognize the cigarettes just falling off the back of the truck, and you're like, that's my hometown.
Oh yeah, that's I used to play kickball down there. But yeah, exactly. I mean, that is. You wouldn't expect. Yeah, I don't want to jump into it too much, but you wouldn't expect. I would assume going into the movie, you didn't expect there to be a whole lot of discussions about themes. I would assume with an Eddie Murphy buddy cop movie, just on the surface, you probably think it doesn't really go that much in depth. And definitely as a kid, that's not the reasons I liked it. As a kid, I liked it because it would be kind of silly at points and make a bunch of jokes that I didn't understand. Because I mean, literally, I was 5 or 6 the first time I saw this.
Wow.
I always liked cop movies growing up, though. So I didn't get any of the themes or the subtext growing up. And then revisiting it, it's a movie that has been able to grow with me as I've gotten older too. And I mean, when I revisited a few weeks ago, it's just I was wow, this movie and the themes it's tackling and how it's tackling them are better than movies today. And it's a cop movie without, I'll borrow a phrase from a friend of mine, propaganda. It's not a movie that's trying to sell cops as, it's not holier than thou. And I mean, right at the beginning of the movie, it opens up with him not being able to do his undercover gig because the cops that come up in the alley can't recognize that this is a guy they work with. One of the cops is you look familiar, but can't realize it's fucking Axel Foley from and so then they have to go on this huge, crazy, awesome car chase, which is an amazing scene to film where
it's the craziest car chase I would say outside of the Blues Brothers.
No one talks about it. No, so for one, no one talks about this movie, I think, at all as much as it should be spoken about. All three of the movies are legitimately great in very different ways. And I mean, even the third one, which gets a lot of hate. But I mean, it starts out with this incredible car chase where all these cars are getting smashed. It's happening actually happening in Detroit because they're passing by places that are still open or closing down to this day. It's just this is some serious commitment by Martin Brest, the director. Vernon, of course he does. Vernon has fantastic taste. He would love this movie. But it's just it shifts gears between comedy and action so seamlessly.
Yeah.
It's just it's so organic, and it's just never winking to the camera and breaking the fourth wall. To be look at how funny this is.
Yeah.
I would most funny part about. Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say real quickly while we're on the topic of the car chase, is that overall, when it comes to I know I kind of mentioned at the very beginning, obviously, I mean, I talk a lot about Detroit, even though he's in it for the first few minutes. It's just, I think you're totally right. I think the vibe of Detroit is so distinctive. And I do think that they want to do a huge compare and contrast to Beverly Hills, obviously. But the car chase alone, oh my gosh, that was so, I don't know why, but I never thought a car chase could be funny. but it really was. Like,
while being action-packed. It's the movie encapsulated.
Really solid. It's a great one. Yeah. And it's not like focusing on him, like driving the car, be like making funny quips, but the action itself, the way everything is filmed with like the buses like swerving over. And I don't know why, but it was almost laugh out loud, you know?
So, Aaron, why don't we talk a little bit too about like, because, you know, let's get to the plot a little bit. We got through the Detroit part. So, because it was Axel's got a friend who's in from out of town who gets killed by Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad, which is crazy.
Definitely the same role. The same role. This is the genesis of this, and this reminds me, and I'll let you get more into the plot here in a moment. But it reminds me so much of J.K. Simmons, and when everybody seemed to discover him in Whiplash, there's a little show called Oz that came out on HBO with Schellinger. This is the same thing with Mike, where he developed that character here and then brought it to a more mainstream audience. But this is, I mean, it's like The Master with Joaquin and then Joker. It's just these roles that originate. But yeah, let's definitely talk.
Red from that 70s show being like the RoboCop guy. And you're like, that's just the same guy. That's just Red when he had a family.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all these words. But yeah, definitely. I mean, this is one of the parts that's aged unintentionally better. I believe he's Zach in this movie, which my brother's name was Zach. Is Zach, actually. Sorry. I mean, still is.
When I was watching this one, he was like, I had no idea the big heavy in this was like Ehrmantraut, and it is very funny. It's like I forget Ehrmantraut's in this. I also forget that this is the movie that kind of made what's his name? Oh God, not Banksy. Balky from Perfect Strangers. This was like his movie. Yes.
Yeah, Pierce Bronson, or I believe it was, or not Bronson.
Some Bronson Pinchot.
Bronson Pinchot, yes.
Yes, this was like his thing. This is like him doing the weird like accent.
Sounds.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's in the sequels. The movie really focuses on Axel trying to pin down this weirdly, like, I don't know what the statement was in the 80s back in this time, but like the evil art dealer, the evil European art dealer who's secretly bringing in all the cocaine, but seems to also be doing very good at just art dealing in Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills is like, in this version of Chinatown, Beverly Hills is just corrupt with all the mad art dealers running around. From like some different part of Europe.
He has a great bad guy named Victor Maitland.
Victor Maitland.
Yeah. It's definitely high up there. It's almost James Bond franchise, inspired, honestly, with how ridiculous it is. Like, I'm waiting for like a female detective or a girl to come out being like her name being, Ivana Humpalot or something,
Well, we have Jenny Summers, if that will help.
That's nice. That is a little bit, but not nearly as aggressively sexual specific. I do think it's kind of funny. I do think that he's also the guy that we were talking about earlier. What's his name? But him and Ronnie Cox and Jonathan Bakes in particular, though, I feel like they're one of the really notable character actors where I was like, I feel like I can name 10 things with him in it, but I have no idea what his name is. He's just that one guy, and they have a documentary about that called That One Guy. You should go check it out.
Because I don't know that much about the Beverly Hills Cop franchise. It's funny that you guys keep saying buddy cop movie, because I think of this in the way that I think of like Die Hard, which is like the first movie is just about a singular cop who happens to maybe have a buddy that's like, or like he makes a friend who's in another cop division or whatever, like in the original Die Hard. But like, this really is just about Axel Foley. He's not really friends with the cop until very, very late in the game that he becomes friends with Judge Reinhold's character. And then later on, like even later than that, the other two cop, or like the captain.
Taggart and Lieutenant Andrews, I believe. Was and then we can't forget about Inspector Todd back in Detroit, who's the true mentor of Mr. Foley. But his buddy who gets murdered, I think interesting part about him is that his buddy still kind of is the one who didn't straighten up, and also it kind of has a little bit of a blind spotting aspect to it, with him being the white friend who's able to get away with a lot of things while Axel has to be worried about keeping him in line at the bar. And
there's so much to be said about the race stuff here, and like how they kind of nimbly
throughout the movie, without being preachy, this movie, and whether it's getting thrown through the window, whether it's at the restaurant trying to speak with Victor Mainland, whether it's every single, whether it's the very beginning with the undercover cop issue and the cops not recognizing him, every issue, it shows you how race is involved in it while making it funny, but also obviously the subject itself not being a funny subject, but comedy and tragedy are next door neighbors. So that's why comedy works. But
I think, but so I think it's really
perfect.
It's an interesting thing. I think it's, they play it very well because they don't play it like in Detroit, he fits in, and in LA, he's a fish out of water. We see that Axel Foley is a man alone, that no matter where he is, whether he has white bosses or black bosses, they kind of treat him the same, which is like kind of like crap because he's a loose cannon. He's like all these things. But then there's this added element, especially when he gets to LA, that race is this unspoken factor. Of course, it took place before the Rodney King riots and all this stuff. But like LA was notoriously the first cops that arrest him are like these two Aryan youths. Like after
he gets escorted out and thrown through a window.
Yeah.
And it's like on cue, they pull up through the sidewalk. The cops like, oh, we've seen this before. And like they're just looking for a reason to arrest him. And like,
he says, why arrest me? And he goes, because you had a concealed weapon and you were disturbing the peace, which is amazing.
And I know we talk about our favorite quotes later, but my favorite quote: "Disturbing the peace. I was thrown through a fucking window."
Yeah, for getting thrown out of a car, jaywalking.
Yeah, and then rather than they could have made it this whole thing where he's like sitting in the back, just disillusioned by his system. He's like, "This is a really nice police car." Like just pointing out a little bit of a difference in a Detroit cop and a Beverly Hills cop. Like right there on the surface, just the cultural difference of where he is from where he went, and just I love.
And how nice the police the precinct was.
Yeah,
it looked kind of space agey. Like everything looked like it was at NASA or something. Everyone had like their own like fancy desk set up with beep boop beep boop, kind of situation. It was just kind of like night and day versus like another precinct, which is like literally just walls and a desk. So it was kind of interesting to see.
So let's get a little bit into it too. Like again, not knowing the plot of the second or third one, he ends up with him befriending or going back and refriending another woman that they used to run with. I guess they were all in the same crew. It was an art who works at the same art dealer place, and I guess they remained friends. Like this Jenny and his friend, when they went out to LA, they remained buddies. And Axel befriends her again, and they go to the art warehouse, I guess, which is where you keep precious art, but also you stumble into somebody's whole cocaine smuggling ring. And he's eventually able to convince the other police detectives, sort of one at a time, that he's legitimate and he's after the guys who killed another. Now, the guy was a cop, right? He was just a dirty cop, his friend? Or was he not a cop?
His friend wasn't even a cop. His friend was just out there doing shady shit.
Okay.
And he never really straightened out. And one of the things that Inspector Todd told Axel before he decided to go on vacation to Beverly Hills, after I think he found like a business card or something that let him know to kind of go there, was if you go to Beverly Hills to investigate this, you're going to be fired. So like there's this and that's really an important constant theme with Axel, is that he does the right thing every time, but whether it's the right way or not is not what he's concerned about. He's concerned about, this is my friend. I'm always, and it's a running theme throughout all of the movies, is that he's avenging his friend throughout each one of the movies in a different way. Like there's just a different reason why he's going to go against what he's told to do what's right. And he doesn't, but he's not like a Captain America type of guy. He doesn't, like, he's willing to bend rules when he has to do what's right.
Well, and he doesn't think that there's an overarching authority that he's compliant to. Like, he's a cop, but he's being an undercover cop outside of his own jurisdiction. I mean, it's almost like he isn't really a cop. Like he gets the cops to like believe in him and stuff, but he really has to earn their trust. I don't know how that plays out through the second and third film as much, but I'm assuming Judge Reinhold comes back because he was like a joy to behold.
Yeah, Judge, I love Taggart and Rosewood, and it's Lieutenant Bogomil, which Ryan pointed out in the comments also. But yeah, it's Lieutenant Bogomil is the Beverly Hills version of Taggart, essentially. But yeah, Rosewood, he's called like Roseweed, Rosen, like all these different wrong names. But I really do like how Rosewood and Taggart, and then there's Jenny also there. But I love how Rosewood and Taggart allow for two different generations of white people to kind of filter how they view and accept black people and black culture, and just overall just how Axel does things, because Taggart is definitely slower to come around to Axel than Rosewood, and there's kind of this weird energy between Rosewood's the older one, isn't he? No, Rosewood's the younger one. Billy Rosewood is Judge Reinhold's character. Gotcha. And and then Sergeant Taggart is the older John Ashton plays Sergeant Taggart. But there's just like, it's a little more like aggressive and assertive throughout with Taggart, when there's like kind of a weirdness than with Rosewood. And I think that is just kind of telling to the two generations at that point in 1984, and how they kind of, right there, getting in his face, punching him in the stomach. And I mean, it's just, it's very
stomach punching in this movie. There, can I be honest? Like, there's way too much stomach punching in this movie. And there's a certain part of the movie where I was wondering, because we get to this final battle scene. We get to the second final battle scene. If we get to the battle scene that's in the where his friend is driving him, and Judge Reinhold's, or actually I think it's Judge Reinhold's driven him to the plant, to the warehouse, and the guy does that cardinal sin of being like, okay, I'll just let my henchman take care of it, and like leaves Axel Foley to like get murdered. I think that's what he expects to happen. Yeah. Although like he knows Axel's a cop, and even if you're not a cop in that state, you wouldn't think that like just offing a cop would be like a smart idea. Like that's gonna bring a lot of heat no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a little donation thingy, I think. Let's see. Thank you.
Oh, nice.
Vernon's asking how confident you are in a trivia night of these films.
Oh man.
Of the franchise or the
if it's the whole franchise, if you know my record of like 1-20, I'm very unconfident. So I accept every time. But
that reminds me. We do have open up. We do have Streamlabs open, so feel free to go to streamlabs.com/VideoDrew if you have a couple bucks you want to throw in for tonight. Otherwise, please press like and subscribe. We have super chats open. Everything's avails. But that raises a good point. How well do you know the rest of the genre of these films? Would you say, or like the other two? Or
I would say that I know the other two probably better than this one. So
really?
A little back. I kind of went backwards with these. I saw the third one first. Okay. I saw the third one first, probably about 20 times before I saw the second one. And then I finally eventually saw the first one. And the only reason I went in that order is because we used to have a bunch of VHSs. So we'd watch all the previews, as we call them, before all the VHSs. And I'd watch the previews for the third one. And it took place in a amusement park. So I immediately was like, I want to watch that one. So I started watching that one, and like I didn't know about critics or anything back then. So I was like, I love this. It's so that the third one does the worst job of towing the line between comedy and action. And then I saw previews for a second one, and it had Bridget Nielsen, and I thought she looked like the coolest bad guy ever. So I was like,
the bad guy?
She's the bad guy in the second one. It's like a super action movie. There's hardly like any comedy in the second one. It's almost a bank heist like movie, or like a bank robber movie. And then eventually I saw the first one. But yeah, like I would be very happy to do a quiz on these anytime. I mean, the third one, I make quotes about the third one on literally a daily basis, and no one ever gets the quotes.
That's kind of okay. So you kind of mentioned that you saw this movie for the first time when you were 5 years old. Is that right?
Yeah, 5 or 6. Yeah,
5 or 6. So you said you saw like the second and third one like 20 something times before seeing the first one. Then
Yeah. I used to have not many friends as a child. So movies were my best friend. And when I watched a movie, I would often rewind it because this is VHS days and watch it again. And then, I do need to rewatch the second one, but I do think it's the most serious, Ryan. Like, I'm not saying any of these are like Macbeth or whatever, but I don't know why I said Macbeth, but like, but like, I mean, like 20 times is like a modest estimate, like, honestly, because like I could easily have days where I watched the third Beverly Hills Cop 3 times in one day. Like, I guarantee it. Like, I had never seen like that. Like, they were my introduction to action movies, like the Beverly Hills Cop franchise.
Who is the one that introduced you to the genre? Was it like something you did with your friend, your parents, a brother?
I didn't have a lot of friends back when I was 5. I don't know if you heard me the first time I said it, but didn't have a lot of friends as a kid.
It could have been a babysitter or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was my babysitter. My mom's best friend Donna. She basically has raised me. She's essentially my second mom, and she introduced me to a few key movies as a kid, one of which was the Beverly Hills Cop franchise. The third one was the one she introduced me to because she figured that was the one I would like the most. And then Friday was the other movie she introduced me to.
Yes.
So both movies make a lot of sense for why I am the way I am to this day, I think. I did take a Friday quiz and lose that one. So I'm looking forward to losing the Beverly Hills Cop quiz to Ryan, who's already fact-checked me like 3 times in the comments. So I'm going to lose to him. But
there's a definite theme. There's a definite theme between the movies, that's for sure. So chances are, hypothetically, if you like one, you're definitely going to like the other.
Yeah, well, sure. and I think whether Donna realized it or not, and I think she did, they made me an extremely open-minded, welcoming person from a really young age. Yes. Yeah, because I got used to at a really young age watching people that I didn't recognize or relate to directly, and learned that I could still relate to them and understand them. And at 5 years old, it's like, actually, like, as weird of a statement as that is to say, it's a really important thing, I think, for a 5-year-old to be able to do. And maybe because of my position as a white male, like, I'm not used to not seeing people I don't see on screen. But because of this, like, it wasn't a weird thing to me. And it was for a lot of my friends until like later on into like their later like teens, honestly. Like, they had trouble relating to people they didn't relate to on screen. Like, it caused me to like see movies as like Hannah and her sister as like a kid, or like movies that were like exclusively like female cast or something. And as a boy, that's a rarity for like, because it's like, oh, that's a female, like Clueless or something I was able to watch and not be like, this isn't for me, so therefore I can't watch it as like a 5-year-old, not as like a 15-year-old. So I do think these types of movies help me kind of realize early on that differences aren't really the differences they are. And just like, this movie took place in Detroit. I was from Detroit. And I recognized like the attitude that Axel had when he was still in Beverly Hills. And it's like, it's just like, I don't know, really, really subtle kind of stuff. And
you play in the fan links, right?
I attempt to, yes.
Well, I was gonna say, it's a movie set in Detroit, like a personal strength of yours.
I mean, it definitely could be a little hidden strength of mine. There's definitely several I can think of: RoboCop, Detroit Rock City, that are like some of my favorites of all time. And there's a few other ones, but I gotta keep my cards close to my chest, or my opponents could be watching at any point here.
I got you. Totally respect that. Respect that. Absolutely.
But yeah, either way, sorry to drive it off topic.
No, okay. This is your episode, man. We take it wherever you feel like it.
How about your biases?
I did want to ask Alex though, because I truly want to get Alex's sense of this. Alex, what did you think of this movie? Did you enjoy it? Did you like watching it? Were there any favorite moments for you?
Yeah, there was a lot of moments. I was surprised at how taken with Eddie Murphy was. Because growing up, I associate him with Nutty Professor. I associated him with Dr. Dolittle. I associate him with like more very comedy focused. But I've never, growing up, and until this day, I've never really looked at Eddie Murphy and be like, that is one fine piece of man candy right there. But watching this movie, I was like, damn, Eddie, you are one beautiful man. And he's charismatic and smooth and funny and sexy. He's got that extra something. And I knew he was already like a really obviously a mega funny, charismatic guy, but I've never really seen him in movies in those roles until this, and that's my own bias. I just haven't, that's all this is what the show is about. I need to expand my wheelhouse and challenge myself to these kind of actors and characters.
That because I wasn't going to, but like, yes, this is very sexy. This is like peak Eddie Murphy.
Oh my gosh, Eddie Murphy is like, I was like, whew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh man, what a beautiful man. Oh, Eddie Murphy. He's so beautiful.
I was gonna say move on. On track.
Yeah, he
I'm not attracted to a dragon. I'm sorry.
No, he has a natural charm that goes with the character of Axel Foley. That makes it just like, I mean, I really did call like Eddie Murphy Axel Foley for the longest time. Like every role, I was just like, oh, it's Axel Foley. Like, it's just like, yeah, like he's so like, he's like, and they're just, I mean, when I revisited this, the music also, it's a really great, legitimately great film. Like I really do, and like that was my favorite part about revisiting is it's not a movie that I liked as a kid, like Surf Ninjas or something, that I revisited as an adult. And I'm like, oh fuck, like this is like I'm just like, wow, this is like Martin Brest just did a great job as director, and the music and all of the characters were just really, really.
That Axel Foley score, or like what is it called? The Axel Foley theme is like so good.
Great theme. It's definitely. I was surprised that I knew the theme, even though I haven't seen the movie.
I
never realized it was from this movie.
Yeah.
I was doing a project recently where we were talking about this. This came up for some reason. I was like finding out some facts. This is like one of the most famous themes to come out of the 80s, like of all time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, it's so iconic. The synth score is so good. It's not the only song that this guy came up with for this soundtrack either. There's like a bunch of songs.
Yep. Yeah, Glenn Fire. Yep. And it's just like, I mean, it's just there. Yeah. Hi, Chico. Chico's right.
My cat's like right here meowing away too.
He's facing. I know he doesn't. I've been on a lot of streams today, and Chico has like not been a fan of it. So he's like, I don't know if you can tell, he's literally like jamming his head into the back of the couch, like, shut the fuck up. Like,
my cat's like literally pawing me. Like my hand is like down here by my leg, and my cat's like trying to be like, Mom.
Yeah, no, I have not walked.
That's all of animals, and Taco's not here right now. I get it.
I mean, I saw Taco earlier today. Over on Now Showing on Feature Presentation Productions stream.
Nice plug.
Yeah. VideoDrew and Lon made an appearance.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sorry. Back to what Alex thought of the movie. I don't mean.
So big takeaway, a very beautiful man. But I felt bad because the entire time watching the movie, I was watching it and I was like, obviously he is so, I was surprised by how it never occurred to me just how charismatic he is on screen. I've never seen him in that kind of role before. And where he's charismatic and sexy and smart and funny and all that good stuff. But also I also felt bad watching the entire thing. I just kept thinking to myself, he's technically breaking the law. He's breaking and entering. He's doing this, and this would not uphold in court. And so I'm like, yeah, and I do agree. I mean, like he's solving this case. Obviously, he's not getting the support he needs from the precinct and everything. So it is completely justifiably so. But I just kept thinking he's lying to these people in order to get data. That would have been thrown out in court. He just did this, and he made it. Yeah. And like, yes, he did get the drugs and everything for it, and he absolutely justifiable. But I just kept thinking, how long would these people actually go to prison for? Realistically, I felt so bad. That was like on the forefront of my mind.
They dealt with that by just having the guy die. So like that, you're not going to worry about that.
Absolutely.
He was killed by a police captain. So like that's not going to be a problem.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to get buried now because the guy it wasn't even Axel. It wasn't even Axel who kills him, right? Or it's like Axel's killing him, but it's also the other guy who killed him.
Yep.
It was just kind of, and also at the very end they were like doubling down on like technically the story is this.
Yeah,
to make him seem okay, but I'm just like,
Axel was there to kill one man and one man only. Well, that was Zach, and he killed Zach. So it's just but yeah, it is kind of like an inverse, like Dirty Harry in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
because instead of being hyper serious and doing whatever he can to get a job done, he's going to be hyper not serious and charming and get the job done in his way, whether that's the right way or not.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I thought that was Chico. I was like, oh my god.
If every time I try to lock him outside of the room, he's just worse. He's 10 times louder. He's scratching at the door. I'm so sorry.
My episode should have. There's one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie.
Yes.
Just anytime he gets to play a character to get into a building, I just kind of love it. Whether it's the Rolling Stone reporter at the hotel, Victor Maitland's lover. What did he have? Gonorrhea? Is that what he had to tell me?
No, it started with, it wasn't hepatitis or anything, but it was like something 10, H something 10.
Yeah.
But I remember one of my favorite ones where he broke into like the storage facility, and he's like, "Yeah, I test out securities for storage facilities around the U.S. and this is except Cleveland. This is the worst I've seen in all of the U.S. out of all the places I've been in, except Cleveland."
And can I just tell you? I mean, that Cleveland line means so much because there's such a rivalry between Detroit and Michigan and Ohio as a whole. Anytime we can shit on Ohio, like that is something someone from Michigan would say when they're like, "What is this, Cleveland?" Like, we're like, why is like that's like it's like our thing. So it's just like that organic. It's like baked. Someone from Detroit wrote this script, and because it wasn't just like Axel's from the wrong side of the tracks. He's from Detroit. He was like from Detroit, and he was like Axel Foley was like an icon in Detroit growing up for people still through the 90s when I grew up. Like, is there
like a street or anything named after Axel Foley?
I don't think
I feel like there would be.
There should be. But like either way, like I mean, like there's Axel Foley. Like I don't know if he's still the same like cultural icon, but growing up in like the 90s, he was like an icon to people, like, and it was just like he was like a hero. He was our, like, no one pretended to be Dirty Harry or anything. We pretended to be Axel Foley. It's like, it's kind of crazy to think about and it's like, it's obviously there's a few of his characters that didn't age great, like any comedy, but a lot of Eddie Murphy's comedy aged a lot worse than this movie, I'll say.
What a great endorsement that is. A lot of it aged worse than this.
Well, that's all.
So, I don't want to step on anyone's toes here. This is really just about your favorite movie and the fact that Alex hasn't seen it. I'm kind of falls in this middle ground. I've seen the movie before, but I didn't see it until pretty late in life. I remember the most recent time I saw it, and probably the time I remember best was after my ex-husband got surgery, and we like ended up watching. This was like one of the movies he had that he wanted to like rent out and watch. And I remember just being very distracted by Eddie Murphy's laugh. That was like what I took away the first time.
Remember that random scene where he's like walking in Beverly Hills, obviously, but I mean, like he walks past like the two guys, one of them's like in the bike. Well, I just kept thinking, I was like, is that a reference to like him? Like, remember his comedy special where he the red suit and the red leather suit kind of thing?
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, because I could have sworn Eddie Murphy. Oh my gosh, cat! Eddie Murphy, I could have sworn he did some kind of comedy special where he's in a red suit. And so I thought that was like a nice little callback to it, that one in particular. So
yeah, and I just wonder if this was like just him on the street, because his reaction's so genuinely like, I cannot believe what I'm seeing here. And then he's driving and like the girl looks over and she's like, yo, Eddie. And then the white dude's just like, oh, better get away from here, as they're driving right when he arrives in Beverly Hills. Like he makes eyes with the guy's girlfriend, and then the guy like it's just, yep, it was Eddie Murphy's Raw that
yes, I got it. I got the reference. I got the reference, y'all.
But it's just Eddie is he's at his best here. This and Coming to America is peak Eddie Murphy. So
I do also love like when he says he's working for Rolling Stone.
Oh yeah.
Doing that whole thing about like like I mean like I said, like race is something that's touched on in this movie, but it's touched on every scene, but it's touched on in such a way that it is never like in your face. It's never blatantly a movie about like cops are racist or whatever. Like it's never about that, but it is like an undercurrent that like exists throughout this film.
Yes.
Like, and it's addressed in like such a non-preachy way. Yeah, I guess non-preachy is one of the better ways to put it, but it's kind of amazing that it was able to be made, that this is the kind of movie that exists, and like, you know, that it manages to be such a cultural moment and say all these things without ever having to be explicit in why, like what it's saying about race and cops in America.
Yeah, and I don't feel like it's viewed in that light from like a public sphere, and I think that's kind of interesting. And like I feel like compared to like Lethal Weapon, it's just like not in that same like stratosphere as like a Lethal Weapon, or like and I just think that it's kind of surprising like how smart it really is. So yeah, I mean like I mean it definitely, I just think that it's not often viewed in that way. But it's like it is in every scene. I mean, and I like how when they, you know, when he's at the Beverly Hills, I think it was a Ritz-Carlton, he ends up getting the room, and they're like, we'll charge you the regular room fee. And then they're like, pause, and he's like, how much will it be? They're like, $235. Like, can you imagine? Like, it's just
like I can imagine what like technically the full price was.
Yeah,
like what the actual like. Oh God!
And imagine
$235 in like in before inflation. Like
imagine what it is now. It's like got a 2 in front of it.
I was curious. Like, I did kind of want to look it up because I'm like, to me, that's already an expensive room in Beverly Hills as it is, but maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not.
1984, that's a ridiculous price for a hotel room.
That's
like
maybe like $600. I would say like at least $600
minimum. Like I mean,
crazy.
Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, it kind of does still look this.
Yeah, I can feel this one. Yeah, it looks exactly like that. Like I was like, if it wasn't like all the smog and stuff, like we weren't currently on fire, and there wasn't a pandemic, this is what it definitely looked like before that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it showed Louis Vuitton, Nina Ricci. I mean, like these are like still pretty consistent, popular designer stores.
Meanwhile, we're in Beverly Hills yesterday, and like it was, you know, the stores still exist. We just can't go in them.
You can buy online though, guys.
Yeah, you can. You can buy it all online. Let's see.
I actually thought about you the other day, Drew, because I saw my second Cronenberg movie, actually third Cronenberg movie. I saw Maps to the Stars.
Oh, I'm about to watch that in a few days.
Yeah, and which takes place in Beverly Hills, and I feel like that could be a whole thing, like Beverly Hills specific kind of like category kind of thing. And I was like,
Stars.
It has Robert Pattinson. It has Julianne Moore. It has Mia Wasikowska. It's there's Carrie Fisher makes a random cameo. It's about a group. John Cusack, he's hilarious. But it's about a group of people that live in Beverly Hills, you know, of varying levels of success that are trying to be even more successful, and it's about their varying levels of unhappiness and trying to do better.
Yeah,
like these, directed by David Cronenberg. But like, there's like this young woman that's in her late teens, early 20s. She commits suicide with her 12-year-old, 13-year-old brother that has a history of drug abuse. But he accidentally kills a kid on set. It's like, it's rough, and it's like all about his horrible relationship with his parents, who are constantly trying to get him into more movies because he's a child actor.
Yep.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see
weird, it. Robert Pattinson, he has like weird taxi sex with Julianne Moore. It's really weird.
Taxi sex?
Taxi sex. Yeah, Mia Wasikowska. She like starts her period in the middle of an interview, and it's like while wearing a white skirt. It's really weird. It's a weird one.
I'll have to check that out for sure. Wait,
it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of like Cronenberg. The new Cronenberg I haven't watched as much of. I know his son has a movie that's coming out that I'm excited to see. It's
Possessor. I saw
Possessor. Was it good?
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit. I saw it a few months ago, and it's like, it's pretty violent. It definitely is like, oh, this is made by David Cronenberg's son, like that. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it as like sometimes that like stylistic, direct tone like transfers to the kid, and this is one of those cases. Like it feels like it. And Maps to the Stars is like David Cronenberg like doing a like rom-com, it sounds like, so, or like not, yeah, for like, but not a body horror. I'm assuming not too much body horror in that one.
Seems like there's a little body horror with that period.
A little bit, a little hint.
Yeah, I mean, like there's murder, there's suicide, there's a lot of dark themes. It's very, to me, it's very Cronenberg. When you analyze the themes, the most un-Cronenberg movie that he's ever directed is probably, to me, Dangerous something, the one with Keira Knightley and like Michael Fassbender.
The one about Freud.
And
I think there's a lot of themes that he goes along, and not to get off topic, but like
no pun intended. Oh shoot, I can't hear anyone.
Oh,
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Can hear you. I was going to say, it goes along with his themes in his later work, which is like, when you get to Eastern Promises or History of Violence, like the violence, the body horror is something that you do to your skin. It's less about like the mechanical meeting the organic flesh, and it's way more about like what you impose on your skin, whether it's like tattoos or branding or something like that. It's more about like the violence like that is kept within your skin.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, and I don't want to get too far because Cronenberg is a whole nother subject, but I just watched Cosmopolis this morning. So that was a very, very un-Cronenberg movie. And
he just like loves Robert Pattinson, I think.
I loved it. I feel
like it's very Robert Pattinson. I feel like that's very Cronenberg, honestly. It reminded me of like kind of like Locke mixed with Mother, mixed with like The Matrix, mixed with Devil's Advocate. Anyways, I
love that book. It's a DeLuise. Well, not Dom DeLuise. What's his name?
Dom DeLuise. I was like, really? Dom DeLuise. That's hilarious.
It's the other DeLuise. It's God, I think I want to say Tom DeLuise. My head and stomach are not fighting with me today, so excuse me if I'm a little bit antsy, but I read the book before. It's by the guy who wrote White Noise. It's really good. It's a great book.
I would love to read the book after seeing that. But
it's like a short story. Someone told me it was like more of a short story situation. That's like less than 100 pages or something.
I'm thinking about ending things as less than 100 pages.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's definitely it. I someone told me that when they pitched the movie to me, knowing nothing about it, they literally described it as like if Bruce Wayne was growing up and he decided not to become a vigilante, but instead he decided to go in a very creepy, sadistic route.
Yeah, it
becomes a good guy in theory.
It's one I'm still trying to like unravel, to be honest with you, because I don't think I quite got it all, but I'm getting there.
Dangerous Method. That's what it was called. Dangerous Method.
Dangerous Method. Yes. Thank you.
Don DeLillo. That's what his name is. Sorry, that's the other thing. But getting back, we just kind of.
It's okay. It wouldn't be an episode of mine if it wasn't getting off track.
Oh, look, it's almost like Los Angeles is a character in this movie, and I think that's maybe what we're getting to here, which is that like this is one of those like just absolutely LA movies. Like this movie is about LA. It speaks to LA. It's like the backdrop is so LA. Like it just is not trying to be anything other than that. And I think that's rare. We often talk about like New York wanting to be a character in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. But this is one of those films that really just celebrate the Los Angeles experience.
Yeah.
And I really think it's like, even to the final battle scene that's like, this villa, this like, this beautiful villa, and it's like the most gun violent. Like I just kept thinking like their neighbors are gonna be calling the fucking police. Like it's like this almost like a Florence style villa that this guy's having this massive shoot up at. I do like the line at the end where he just goes, "I hate machine guns." And I was like, oh, that's true. I also hate machine guns. Yeah, that's a great shot. That was a great moment right there where he's the chief of police. He's not the captain because the captain's the guy who also doesn't
I think he's the lieutenant at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's Lieutenant Bogomil, Sergeant Taggart, and Detective Rosewood. Those are the three of them.
And then the captain's like the guy who comes in and he's like really mad about the whole situation.
Yeah, he's just an asshole. Yeah.
I mean, this movie does have a funny premise, which is like, just keep lying to your superiors about what's going on. Like, just keep if you're police, just feel free to keep lying to other police about like what's really going on, and like you'll get away with it.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of like well-intentioned lying.
Yeah, exactly.
But say to me, like though, I mean, I don't care how well-intentioned it is. A lie is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. That's a good
message. I'm just saying that's funny that this is the message. I'm not saying it's good.
Well, that's saying that watching this, I understand like to a certain extent. It's just this movie. He's doing nothing but lie throughout the entire movie, and so from one point of view, this guy is like low key kind of a villain with a good motive, with a good goal. But he's breaking the law and lying to people around him non-stop. I mean, he's top. He's doing it for a good cause and everything, but
yeah. I mean, and I think that's a good point, and one of the
vigilantes. We determined that a while back,
Yeah, one of the issues with a kid being a kid and idolizing Axel Foley as a hero is that I started to justify my own lies at points because I was like, it's for the greater good of me,
right?
To lie here, so yeah. It's a good point, Alex. Good point. You're fracturing my hero.
I'm sorry.
Akmel.
I'm really sorry. Okay, well, the thing is, when it comes to overall, I think what I really, really liked about this movie in particular is that they really make a point of it, where they really stress that in spite of him, having a really great motive, and he's doing all these things. I think they do a really great job with showing how talented he is at being a really great detective. Like if he was like a PI that didn't answer to superiors and be like, well, you can go inside this jurisdiction or whatever. Like, I feel like they did a really great job with showing. I think they did a really great job at showing not only how great he is with troubleshooting, thinking on his feet as far as like when it comes to being active, being at the strip club, things like that. But also his ability to work with so many different types of people in different situations. And a lot of times, especially even in cop movies, sometimes they have a hard time doing that, showing good detective work and and its execution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Lap. Sorry.
An effective detective.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think, there's a funny way to like reread this or recontextualize like all of Beverly Hills Cop is like a police detective from another precinct decides to take matters into his own hands and like go like just decide to go do his own investigation, lie to local authorities, and like kill other people and then have the local police cover it up. I mean, there's something to be said there.
Yeah, it's the 80s.
We'll let it go.
Wow. The 80s. Come on.
Yeah. So I guess do we think we should try one of these? I mean, we can do I think we just kind of almost put it a little bit, but does this movie hold up?
Oh, before going into does it hold up, can we go into our favorite line?
Oh, sure. I think sure. Go ahead.
Well, I feel like he's one of the so arguably one of the most charismatic characters on film, but especially one of the most charismatic detectives we've seen on TV, obviously. But one of them that I think that it was the accent. I think you actually kind of mentioned it earlier, Aaron, where he's like, well, tell Victor that Ramon, that fella he met about a week ago, tell him that Ramon sent him to the clinic, went to the clinic today, and I found out that I have herpes simplex. Yeah. I think Victor should go check himself out with his physician. And I did a handful of chuckles watching the movies here and there, but that scene in particular, I just like legit belly laughed.
I mean, he was just straight up doing his stand-up routine. He was basically doing his stand-up routine right there, like that. He was just so in his element. There's just so many. Anytime he interacts with Serge, it's just the best. Like he's like, "Shut the fuck up!" No, I cannot. I am trying to tell you. Like,
did you realize how much Serge sounds like Danny? Like, because I did.
Yeah. Oh man. The first time I ever saw Danny, the first thing I thought about was Serge from Beverly Hills Cop. I was just like,
it's like you can't stop thinking about it. He sounds just like Serge.
Yeah, which is just but yeah, this is one of these movies that is loaded with nostalgia for me, and
I'm gonna put my head down over here because my head's a little bit swimming, but I'm still listening and still talking.
This is perfect for my episode.
We're just like
perfect.
My
relax.
Aggressive in the background.
You guys can still hear me though, right? You guys can. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Aaron, what's one of your favorite lines, and could you, by chance, reenact it for us?
Oh yeah, that would be problematic.
I mean, well, I kind of already did it with the threw me through the fucking. Let's see. Okay, I love Damon Wayne's acting debut. As
bananas.
That was his acting debut. Go ahead and take those bananas. Go ahead and take those. Go ahead and take those bananas.
Would you like to hear a fun fact about that scene? So
yes.
It was originally supposed to be a potato that he clogs up the tailpipe with, but it was because they were going to cut out. They had this whole kitchen chase scene that ended up getting cut out. So instead of they couldn't rightfully say that there were just going to be potatoes in the kitchen, or in the dining room, that they were just potatoes. So they turned into bananas because that could reasonably be assumed that would be in a continental breakfast style thing, which I thought was cute.
Yeah. That's I can tell you that seeing that as a kid, when I used to go to Taekwondo, and my mom would be a little bit late picking me up from Taekwondo practice, so I'd be sitting on the curb, and the curb would have a lot of mulch, the sticks in there, and so I'd take the mulch sticks and shove them up the tailpipe in the parking lot of the car next to me, pretending to be Axel Foley. And one night she caught me doing it.
Oh gosh, the people hated you.
Yeah, I never did anything to cars, but I was trying to do the banana thing with giant mulch. Legit, true story.
Wait, J-Doc, that's a fun fact. Steve Burkhoff got the role after producers were on a flight and saw him as General Orlov and Octopussy. They were on a flight and they were watching him in a movie, on the flight, or they ran into him on the flight. I don't know. Either way, that's a pretty good detail. Because, we were saying there's a sort of James Bondian element to this.
Oh, yeah, and good call by Peggy. I forgot in the second one, Chris Rock plays a valet, and that was his debut. So the Beverly Hills Cops have introduced some, comic legends. That is a great pull by Peggy. Good call. Wait, why am I in trouble? What did I do? What did I do?
Okay, let's see. I'm trying to see.
What did I do, Camshaft? I don't know what I did. I'm sorry. Was it my Damon Wayans voice about the bananas? Because I can explain.
Oh, the tailpipe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, don't worry. That was 25 years ago. I got out of that. But
when I was a kid, I did something very similar, but I would we had this McDonald's that sort of to go through the drive-thru. If I remember correctly, the playground play lot was above like the drive-through, which was almost like it wasn't a subterranean drive-through, but like you had to kind of dip down to go through the drive-through. And I used to take a bunch of like heavy rocks, and I would pretend to like be giving people food. I'd be like, "Here's your donut," like here's your like here's your cheeseburger, and just throw the rock on the hood of their car.
Like we all do dumb shit as kids.
Yeah, I mean the thing was, it was funny because like there was always like another bunch of other kids around for like there was always another finger to point about like who's been throwing rocks on these people's car. But I remember be like. Big, like Happy Meal coming right up and just dump a bunch of rocks on the car. Big Macs.
Yeah, and then the other line that kind of connects with the banana tailpipe is when Lieutenant Bogomil's asking what happened, and Rosewood's like, "It was an egg salad sandwich, sir." Like, and just like he's like, "I don't care what you had to order." Like, Rosewood is just such a happy idiot.
It was shrimp salad sandwich.
What did I say? Egg salad?
Yes.
I meant shrimp salad. Thank you.
I'm like waiting for like a nerd, like a.
No. It's
and I feel like that would 100% be a quiz question.
I completely meant shrimp salad. You just never say shrimp salad sandwich, I guess. But yeah, no, I meant shrimp. Yeah, thank you for the fact check. But yeah, shrimp salad sandwich. I just love Rosewood. Rosewood is definitely one of my favorite characters in this movie.
I definitely know the movie more than you now.
I mean, yeah, you're the fan.
I just corrected you. So
Yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah, and killed salmon and dill.
So what else has this director done? I think we talked about. Oh, that sounds so good right now. Except I'm like my stomach also wants to vomit. But that also sounds good. I don't know how to describe it. My stomach wants to vomit, but also eat chilled salmon.
Yo, I feel you.
I get that one.
It just kind of hits you like a rock.
Like what else has this director done that's like been notable? I'm not sure if I've seen his name that much.
His name's Martin Brest. So I think it's Martin Brest, but he's done, he's definitely, I don't want to say like a hugely impactful director, but he's definitely done quite a few movies that are very notable. Not only this movie, but he also did Midnight Run with Robert De Niro, Sense of a Woman with Al Pacino, Black, and most famously so, Geely from 2003.
Wow.
Yeah.
Midnight Run, the one about the heroin dealers, like the one about the guys getting caught for drug dealing.
With Ben Affleck and J-Lo.
Not Jiggly. Midnight Run. Which one's that?
Okay. So it's the one where I think they're based in Chicago, and so they're bounty hunters. So they're trying to get from point A to point B, essentially.
Yep. Okay. And it has I believe it has Jigsaw in it.
Tobin Bell.
Yeah, Tobin Bell's in, if I'm thinking of the right movie. Maybe I'm not though. And then De Niro and Charles Grodin, who was from one of my favorite movies as a kid, Beethoven.
With the dog?
Yeah, the Saint Bernard. I like Beethoven.
Heart and Souls. Heart and Soul. Yeah.
Yep. And then John Ashton makes another appearance. So Taggart's also in that movie. So Martin Brest is a big John Ashton fan.
And who wrote this one? Was this Eddie Murphy writing it, or?
So the writer of this movie, it was actually done by one person. His name is Daniel Petrie Jr. But he hasn't done too much. But again, kind of similar to Martin Brest, where he's done a handful of very notable ones. He did Toy Soldiers in '91. Underrated.
Oh my god! Eric's favorite
film. He also did Turner and Hooch. He also did, The Big Easy. So he's in the Army now. But scratch that. That was him as a director. But other movies that he's written, not only this one, Big Easy, Shoot to Kill, Turner and Hooch, Toy Soldiers, in the Army now, Dawn Patrol. But he's done a lot of production work as well.
Yeah, but there had to be so much improv from Eddie on this movie.
You have to work around it.
Yeah, like, I mean, Eddie probably used 20% of the script. Yeah, Bill, I agree. Yeah, Midnight Run is... I don't know what... I was thinking of a different movie with Tobin Bell, but yeah, Midnight Run is great.
I would love to see, with that in mind, just because I feel like there's moments where it is outright comedy, but also there's, quite a few moments where it is kind of a dark comedy as well, where it's like I shouldn't laugh, but I am laughing.
Mm-hmm.
When they're at the strip club, that, or there's like a line where there's a line that Axel says where, what does he say? Okay, so he says, so Axel tells Jenny, yeah, Jenny, don't worry about me. We got cocaine and coffee here. We're gonna get wired and have a party. Just like random throwaway lines like that, which is, I feel like, which are pretty awesome. They're pretty hilarious. I'm like, I shouldn't laugh at this, but I am.
No,
he's got those great one-liner quips to like the bad guys. He's never ruffled. Like he's always like, he's like, one of the guys like, I'll see you later, and he's like, oh yeah, like I'll just make myself comfortable or whatever. When he's getting the shit kicked out of him. Let's see, John Ashton couldn't do Beverly Cops 3. He was filming Little Big League. Hector Elizondo. I
like Hector Elizondo's character in the third one. Rosewood essentially like runs Los Angeles at this point in the third one, so he gets to like redraw the county lines for like Rosewood has a fridge in his office in the third one, which fun fact, as Axel Foley says, J. Edgar Hoover didn't even have a fridge in his office.
that's
maybe some hair curlers. That's the kind of level of humor the third one's at, just to warn you. The sharpness declines a little bit by the third one, but that's right. But yeah, of course. Only the most uptight on my episode of the Cinema Bias here, Adam.
Sorry, Adam. I'm not trying to like chill. It's just that I've been having like vertigo all day, so like I'm trying to like center myself. So I'm listening, I'm enjoying, but I'm also trying not to bomb. So
Drew, I don't want you. Yeah, I want.
It's like Drew's just you have a legit reason, but I don't have a reason, so I'm just gonna.
Yeah. So please. Passover. Why is this night different than all other? I don't know what's been going on with me lately. It's the weirdest thing. Not to go too off topic, but lately it's like I'll be okay for like a day, and then the next day it's like I'm like Chris Adams over here. I'm just like vertigo central.
Yeah, I don't even want to act like I know what that's like. So my mom's had vertigo issues. So
it's like, let's see, Eddie's Improv. Let's see. I wanted to see where when are we getting the fourth one? Great question. I think that actually brings us to my next point, which is, do you think this movie does it hold up? Like, does this movie hold up for a 2020 audience?
Yes, 100% yes. For me, I just think this is a movie that if it was more in the general lexicon, if it was on Netflix or something, I think people would be talking about and looking at these movies more. They've tried to make the fourth one happen a couple times with a movie and with a show. I wish they'd just leave it alone at this point. I don't. But Dolomite gives me hope that if Eddie Murphy can come back, then I want to see a fourth one. But if they're just going to recast it and just say this is Eddie's son or something, like I'm okay on that.
I mean, that'd be interesting though. Like, which is like, yeah, what do you think there would be a good cast for this? Like, if you were gonna reboot, like not even like reboot it, but like if you were gonna do like just remake it, and not say this is Eddie's son, but if you're gonna remake it, would it still work to have this kind of thing? I mean, you almost would have to have the racial conversation be a little bit more explicit, probably, which would not be great.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm trying to think of what kind of movies have come out within the last like 10 years that deal with the racial aspect while also dealing with like the police angle. And it's like the closest thing I can think is, the Bad Boys movies, I guess, but they don't exactly deal with it really. They just kind of, so I don't know.
Okay. Let's say you were pitching, a Beverly Hills reboot, essentially. Do you mind me asking specifically, would you want to go in a very similar direction and have that kind of very kind of more focused on this, like very similar to Beverly Hills Cop, like the first one? Or do you think you would go much more like traditional comedy, like in some of the sequels?
Yeah, so I honestly just don't. I think the only way it would work is like making it more in a traditional comedy way, and that just is what ended up kind of driving people away from the franchise as it moved forward. Was each one became a little more that traditional kind of movie, and the third one was pretty much a comedy.
I can almost see it like okay, imagine this though. Okay, so it's not reboot, it's not whatever. They get Eddie Murphy back, and he's he's teamed up with his son, who is also a cop, but is much more straight-laced by the book, wants to be, the gold standard for a policeman.
And realizes that he keeps getting his investigations thrown out because they're not going through. Like the things that essentially Alex is bringing up, like a lie's a lie, and like when you don't go through the like your report. Like everything I'm saying is like, this is the 80s. It doesn't matter. These things do like matter more now. That is a really cool fact too, Bill. Thanks.
Yeah, if you want to put criminals in prison, if you want to stop crime as a whole,
not collusion cops.
You have to go to a certain extent. You have to obey the law in order to guarantee
the results. And I mean, it could dip into like the fact of like, without getting preachy, be like, this is why like Detroit's like crime rate is still what it is, and like nothing changes. It's like you're just as much part of it. Could be interesting. I just don't know if it would avoid being the P word, which I don't mean to keep using it, but preachy. So
that's actually kind of interesting you say that, because I watching this for the first time, for a movie that has, there's a lot of theme on having a focus of a black man and a black man in Detroit, then in Beverly Hills, and he's constantly surrounded and being stalked by, followed by white cops that initially, that continue to stereotype him, for a long time, and he's treated as such. And there's one or two black cops, in the background, in Beverly Hills, but it is largely cast-wise. It is largely white, obviously, especially in Beverly Hills. But there's even though it is, very like the themes and the subtext and everything, it's never outright, like you said, I'm black, you're white.
And Ryan says it like, I mean, this is pretty much only funny because of Eddie Murphy. And I mean, essentially, if you look at another movie where they try to deal with a lot of these similar subjects and do it in the most ham-fisted, like shitty way, frankly, very random movie, National Security with Martin Lawrence and Steve Zahn tries to tackle these subjects, but it's so ham-fisted as like Steve Zahn beating the shit out of Martin Lawrence as a black dude, like over and over again. The movie and like Martin Lawrence talking about how this cop is beating him up and it's like on camera and they still don't believe him. And then eventually Martin Lawrence like helps him as a security guard become like a cop. Like it's like, that's like this thing done the wrong way, like 15 years later trying to be Beverly Hills Cop with different people. And
like Black Klansman or something that was almost like a Spike Lee kind of joint.
Yeah.
But it's a very different type of movie, though. But it's sort of like the black cops and the white cops are working together. But
I would be really surprised if, like, I know that was a true story, but I guarantee one of the inspirations for Spike Lee with that movie was Beverly Hills Cop. To be honest, that kind of, like, I would be interested.
It was a true story, right?
Yeah, it was a true story. But, I mean, just, like, there are aspects to John David Washington's character that reminded me of a lot of Axel Foley. Now that you, now you mention it, so that's kind of a cool little, like, it almost makes me feel like that's about as close as you can get to Beverly Hills Cop in 2020-ish area. It's like that kind of movie, very different movie, but like, I mean
it's not about whether it holds up. It's whether there's a way to make it. If there's any way to make it today that wouldn't be hammering down a Black Lives Matter or like these kind of issues. I don't know if there could be, because I think to ignore it and to not make it the central focus right now, to like to sort of be like giving yourself like a pass, and it would just be like kind of ring hollow. Because how could you make this movie today without addressing these issues?
Yeah. It's impossible, honestly. I feel like it would be. So overall, I definitely think it does hold up. I think it's just one of those movies. I feel like, honestly, the script holds up tremendously well. And I do think there's like a few itty bitty tweaks here and there. But overall, if it could be written today and you wouldn't really change a thing. Now, that is largely due to the delivery of how charismatic and awesome Eddie Murphy is. And I know he also did quite a little bit of improvisation in this movie as well. So I really contribute to a lot of the success of the story and just the vibe of the movie and his character in particular, and believability to Eddie Murphy. Because I don't think if it was Mickey Rourke or James Caan or a Stallone or Pacino, like Lon Harris, like you said, these are people that were in contention for that role. I don't think this movie would have been nearly as successful as it did, or it spawned a franchise like it did.
I agree with partly what Lon said. Lon saying in 2020 it'd be very hard to make a movie where a cop is acting outside the law, doing his own freelance investigation because his friend gets killed, and that's like the heroic guy. You basically have to. Like the Detroit cop's corrupt to explain why he has to go rogue, and even that's problematic. I don't even think you'd have to say that the Detroit cops are corrupt. I think what it is sort of that idea of jurisdiction, which you see a lot of times in cop movies. But it's the idea that he's going rogue, and the idea that, again, he's a black man in a very, very whitewashed area that has a history that they're not really addressing in this movie. But Los Angeles police have a history of being extremely racist, like just historically, and the idea that that this would even be someone that they learn to like and trust. It would either come off as really like fanciful, like beyond that. Like, I mean, how would you address all the protests, all the things like this? Like, it would be kind of impossible. The only thing I could think of is you would have to pair him off with somebody like John Cho, or like a not white but not black actor, playing another kind of cop, like Rosewood.
Ooh, I would love to see it cast with an Asian cop, like a Randall Park.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it would be Randall Park. It would be John Cho. I'd like to say like an Ava Mendes, like a
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely see that.
But again, that's still you're still like, again, you're sidestepping the issue of like what it means to have be living in 2020 where the idea is just either Black Lives Matter or Blue Lives Matter. Like, those are the two things that are going on right now, and like lots of parts of the country, but Los Angeles specifically has had this issue. Like, again, it's important to know that this movie was made before the Rodney King riots and like before OJ, before a lot of the stuff. So. Yeah, I think it holds up, and it's an interesting time capsule. I'm not sure if you could make this movie today without having it be a completely different movie.
I don't think this movie would have been nearly as successful without Eddie Murphy. Like, no. I don't want to see this movie made with Stallone or anything. Yeah, I don't like. No.
Yeah.
But Eddie Murphy, what's up? Ooh, what's his name?
What if he wasn't a cop? What if he was something else, like because it's weird because he's doing undercover cop work, but he's not really. He's just like a police officer, right? He's not an undercover detective. He keeps acting like he is, but I don't think he's actually part of an undercover unit. Like, they say that at the end, almost to like give him validation, but I think he's just a regular cop who likes doing like crime, likes doing these things off the books. Mm-hmm. What if you made him part of like like the FBI, or like, another part of like another task. Like, if you assigned him as part of a task force that was like specific to something that's outside of the just plain police jurisdiction.
Well,
that would be
maybe stay tuned for the sequels, because maybe he gets assigned to maybe a stolen credit card task force unit.
There we go.
Or, maybe.
I do think there's one other actor that I do think that I honestly think that I could 100% see it. We've already seen him before with Eddie Murphy. His name is Arsenio Hall.
He's so old.
To me, Arsenio. Okay, no, I mean, like, if it was made in like around that time, if Marty was not available, and and they auditioned him. I would 100% think that Arsenio Hall would knock this out of the park, because I feel like they have a very similar skill set. And I do think Hall is definitely one of those actors that was never given his credit as far as how talented he is as an actor, not just a comedic actor. But I do think that if he had the opportunity to take on a role like this, he would be in a very different conversation as far as like where he is in his career. This could have
Michael Key, like Keith Stanfield. These are all actors I would love to see take on the Axel Foley role, or give it like a twist to it. I think give it to Jordan Peele to direct, or give it to a couple of these other people who have been doing give it to Glover. Like give it to Glover and see what he does with it.
Yeah,
I would not want Jordan Peele to touch this with a 10-foot pole, personally.
Not Jordan Peele, but give it to Donald Glover. Like that would be a great movie.
Yeah, he can. Oh my gosh, I love Donald Glover. Oh,
I mean, Eddie Murphy has to be involved if there's going to be a 4. That's first and foremost. Otherwise, just don't call it Beverly Hills Cop. Like that's just really how I feel. Yeah, I mean,
Coogler would make a great Beverly Hills Cop movie.
Yeah, I just it's one of these things that I know has been in production hell for about 10 years. They made a pilot for CBS at one point that got canned before it came out. They've had talks about the movie. I mean, what happened with Dolomite gives me hope for Eddie Murphy. So I'll say that.
A lot of hope. God, Wesley Snipes was great in that too. We were just talking about that earlier.
Put them both in there.
I would also like to, let's take the idea of Beverly Hills Cop. Let's put that as a Beverly Hills. Let's take that very literally. A Beverly Hills Cop now has to go to Detroit.
Okay.
And get one of these Beverly Hills Cop, these Tony, set in their ways cops, and force them to sort of do like the tenant, or not the tenant, the super kind of thing, where they're forced to do like an exchange program and work in like one of these inner city things. I think that'd be interesting.
No, yeah. I mean, I just don't think, you have to do something to flip the concept on its head.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Reinhold definitely has to be back. He's available.
Zac Efron, that's his kid. Yeah.
I mean,
I love Zac Efron. I really do. I feel like he needs to. I would love to see him in
get Craig Brewer to do it. There you go.
We get a Franco in there. Can we get like a Dave Franco? Let's get a Franco in there somewhere.
Yeah,
Franco is just so pretty though.
Yeah,
I know. Force like bumbly looking Dave Franco, who's really pretty, but also like to work in Detroit and like part. He's used to the ritzy Beverly Hills, Tony thing, and force him to be like part of the Detroit police task force.
Make Dave Franco Taggart's grandchild.
Yeah. Or like the estranged, Rose kid. Yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if this came out, I'd be excited for it. Like, I'm not going to.
Lon Harris, you're 2 minutes away from just describing the 22 Jump Street.
Yeah.
I love that. So I do think the final thought behind this whole conversation is, yes, the movie does hold up.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, when I suggested this movie, I hadn't rewatched it in a good five years or so. So I really didn't know if it was going to be a good suggestion, or if anybody else was going to like it, or if I was going to have to come on here and defend it.
This is a great movie.
It's a really
Wall Street.
Yeah.
Which was not a great movie.
What'd you say?
Which was not a great movie.
Which movie?
Wall Street.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't suggest Wall Street, and I don't have any.
We didn't
be like, bitch.
Wall Street was great. I mean, it's like what it is.
To me, that movie does not age well in the slightest. Again, I mean, but that's like we already talked about that like a while ago. Again, it's a movie that's very much of its time. I can see him being like in the background. It's a movie that just doesn't age well though at all to me though. The script doesn't age well. The cinematography doesn't age well. The acting doesn't age well. It's just but the thing is, it's also
let's see
at random times.
Oh yeah, Gerard Carmichael. That would be good, Peggy. I'm all about Gerard Carmichael. Shout out to Slight. One of my favorite movies from the last 5 years.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, I know, Sean. He said, Sean, I know those are fighting words. I do know, but we've fought over it already and you lost. So,
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't have to fight tonight.
Yeah, because you chose a good movie.
Yeah, I tried to do that.
Yeah, essentially. Thank you so much for coming on, though. I mean, this is fantastic, and thank you so much for being obviously not only a patron of Drew's, fantastic to do it, but I also know you compete on VideoChronic's episodes, quite a little bit as well. So I'm sure, inevitably, because this movie is obviously immensely popular, I'm sure at some point in the near future, this is going to come up on a VideoChronic quiz. Would you be down to, compete in that potentially?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I sign up for movies that I know half as well as this. So like definitely I'll lose to Ryan Payne in one of these because he's been in the chat all night, like getting all of the facts right. I feel like he almost should have been on here representing this movie over me, but I hope I did you proud, Ryan. But yeah, no, I would love to do, I think all three of these would be a super fun, like mega quiz.
Yeah, I would love to see more. I know it's 10 times more difficult, but it would be kind of cool to see like a franchise specific quiz or something like that. Like if there was like a Fast and Furious, very topical Fast and Furious franchise VideoChronic quiz, that'd be interesting to see. Okay, so I know that was this was your selection for this week, but what were some of your before we leave though? What were some of your other movie picks?
Oh, for cinema bias?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, my number one, anybody who knows me knows what I'm about to say. It's my favorite movie of all time. It's Harold and Maude, Hal Ashby's masterpiece from 1975 or 76, I believe. It's my favorite movie I've ever seen. It is just a perfect movie to see during quarantine, no matter how bad or good you're feeling. And yeah, I love Hal Ashby. He's my favorite director, especially in the 70s. And yeah, that movie to me is just like a movie that I feel like represents me better than any other movie ever made.
So guys, this brings us to a good point, and I guess we'll get to the plugs in a second. But yeah, guys, if you ever want to come on and talk about a movie the way that A-Aron just did, you can do that by going to patreon.com/VideoDrew. There's tiers for a bunch of different things, including you can come on and become, if you go to patreon.com, you can become a patron. I think for the $20 tier, you get a chance to give me and Alex a name of like 4 or 5 movies. We'll see if one or both of us haven't seen it. So it's either one or both of us. Like it could be both, or just maybe one of us. And then we'll go through the list. We also have a Letterboxd list now of movies that me and or Alex have not seen. That's on. You can find it on by looking at my lists on Letterboxd.com, wherever, Letterboxd VideoDrew's account, or if going to Alex's account. And we have like, I think almost like 100 movies on there. I think maybe we have a little bit less, but I'll have to double check. But go through, see if there's anything on there that you definitely need us to watch, and we'll check it out. But otherwise, A-Aron, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Aaron Jay Brooks, and then also Letterboxd. I'm Incubrooks, INCUBROOKS, and then I'm always over on basically my home away from home, my friend Tony's YouTube channel, Feature Presentation Productions. He is a very, very hard-working guy. Very selfless, does it all for like no money, and just helped me put on a movie stream that was over 1,000 minutes of content. So I mean, all just for like a birthday stream that happened back in June. That's gone all the way to September now. But yeah, that's where I suggest if you're looking to get into some potential fan league matches, that's a good spot too. So those are where I'm at. Pretty much, that's it. Yeah, those are where you can find me.
Okay, what about you, Alex?
You can find me right here on Twitter at @real_AlexMack. You can also find me being part of the Call to Action podcast group. I work really hard over there. I really do. We do a lot of breakdowns, interviews with competitors. If you're just a fan of Schmoedown in general, please come check it out. I personally host a show called Schmoebates. Tomorrow we are doing a swag themed episode. It's a debate, so it's gonna be really Ace Cabrera. It's gonna be debating. He's gonna be going up against RB3. It's gonna be so much fun. And so it's gonna be all on a bag of chips. So definitely come hang out with us.
As for me, you can find me on this channel. Please like and subscribe. This isn't a greatest indicator, although I do kind of like not talking as much as usual because we get actually hear other people's opinions instead of me interrupting. So that's kind of fun. So yeah, you can find me here. This is my channel. Please like and subscribe. We do on Mondays and Thursdays, we do the VideoChronic pop culture quiz. That's NerdChronic, as you all know and love them. Writing quizzes on Thursday, we have a really special one coming up, which is the Standing Up Lizard Mega Quiz starting at 9 p.m. That's going to be Godzilla 2014, Donkey Kong Skull Island, whichever year that came out, and then Godzilla Standing Up Lizard King of the Monsters. So that's gonna be a mega quiz. We have PJ Campbell joining us. We have Alex Robinson. We have a couple of big names that are gonna be there for that quiz. Yours truly. We have Lon Harris, who is determined to win. That's gonna be awesome. If you guys have any suggestions for shows you wanna for quizzes you also want, there's a tier on the Patreon for you guys as well. I know a couple of people have been suggesting different kind of quizzes. Just know that NerdChronic is he's never busy, right? He doesn't have enough on his plate. But so you have to give us a couple month leeway so we can have time to create these quizzes for you. But then otherwise, we have a bunch of fun stuff coming in. And I know that we have a couple suggestions from people for quizzes. We have we do actually have some awesome stuff coming up down the pipeline. And I don't want to confirm or deny anything, but we have a bunch of new fun players coming up. Cinema Bias, we do every Tuesday at 8. It's awesome. Wednesday, we're doing our virtual happy hour, which is with my Patreon stuff. We might actually do a little bit of karaoke midweek, which is going to be some fun stuff because, Twitch karaoke is going away. That's something I usually do Fridays at 8 p.m. PT, we do video karaoke. Patreon also allows you to get in for an hour early locked room that we do for that. And then Sunday, we do Live in the Dark with VideoDrew, which is my kayfabe show as VideoDrew. This week, however, is going to be on Saturday night because I have something, another conflict that's coming up Sunday night. So it's going to be Saturday night at 9 p.m. We have a very, very special guest I'm going to be excited to announce probably tomorrow for that. And then, do I do anything else? Probably. I'm going to be doing a lot more Twitch stream gaming stuff because I just got my PS4 back. And
sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
Go ahead.
Oh, I forgot to mention earlier. I apologize. I thought you were finished. It was my bad. I cut you off there. I'm also hosting Last General Standing next Friday. It's a free-for-all kind of situation with C2A. So if that's something you want to compete in, you have to be on the level of a general's patron in order to compete. So we have over 25 people competing in this kind of free-for-all kind of situation. I am writing all the questions. I have over 300 questions written.
Holy moly.
It's a lot. And I've been working this for quite some time. So even if you don't want to compete, totally fine. I would really appreciate if you come and hung out with us because we're trying to get people on and have fun. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And there's just gonna be a bunch of fun stuff coming up. As soon as I regain my inner ear equilibrium or whatever, it's gonna be tons of fun. I really feel like content is really important right now. Of course, everyone's saying that, but I'm really getting into finding other cool creators on the internet and just trying to I love the Schmoedown community. I love the Twitch Stings community. I'm trying to find more weird little side, these little insular communities that I don't currently know about, the alternate reality gaming people, the people who find weird internet stuff. I'm really into it. So if you guys have any suggestions of cool content creators I should be checking out right now and checking out their work, please send them over to me. You can find me on all social medias at VideoDrew. I'm always everywhere at VideoDrew, so don't even worry about it. No Fast and Furious questions, Alex. Too controversial. Ooh, too soon.
Oh my
too
gosh.
soon. Okay.
I'm limiting the amount of categories. Just want to give you a heads up, Alan. There's I'll let you know next week, but there's only like 15 categories because I don't want to make it crazy for you guys.
So I guess that's going to be probably it for tonight. But like, look out again, guys. Go to my Patreon, and even if you don't want to sign up for money, just press follow so you can get like the full list of my schedule. That's usually where it is, and I'm always hanging out with these guys. If I'm not actually on, they're not on one of my shows. I'm on one of theirs.
True.
So yeah, fair enough. Say good night, Gracies. All the Gracies. Say good night.
Good night, Gracies.